All right, welcome into the Lantern Sports Preview Show. I'm your host, Casey Smith, alongside Gabe Burggraf. And this weekend, we got a big matchup on tap under the lights, 7 p.m. on Fox. Toledo, they come to Columbus with a 2-0 record after big wins against LIU and UMass, 55-10. Ohio State, they're coming off big victories of their own, 21-10 against Notre Dame, and then 45-12 against Arkansas State, where they put a lot of offensive questions to rest. Who are some players that you want to watch in this matchup as Toledo comes down I-75, Gabe?
Well, one of the key offensive players I want to watch is one of the running backs, the main feature back, Travion Henderson. If the Buckeyes are going to roll on the ground and get some chunk yardage there, he's going to be the guy to do it. He had over 80 yards and 2 touchdowns against Arkansas State, but none of the running backs have really broken out with that Mayan-esque huge run down the sidelines in Week 1 against Minnesota in the 2021 campaign. It'll be interesting to see if they can kind of chunk this game up and if those guys get to run a bunch of linebackers over in the secondary, get to the next level. Because if the Buckeyes can do that, we already saw what they can do with Harrison Jr. and even with Jackson Smith and Jigba out, they've got weapons in the air. It'll be crucial that they can control the pace and tempo of this game.
Right, and you mentioned that two-headed monster between Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams. Who are going to be the guys on the Rockets that are going to be stopping them?
The main guy is a former Buckeye linebacker, graduated from Ohio State and transferred to Toledo, Dallas Gant. He's leading the Rockets with 20 tackles, which is very high in the FBS. I believe top 40 in the FBS in that category. So if they're going to have any chance of staying in this game, you got to stop the run. You kind of got to stop the pass, but if you can stop the run, you can try to get the Buckeyes into 3rd and longs, and that might be the key to staying in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe he should have thought about transferring out of the state of Ohio, because Ohio State, in the last 50 games against in-state opponents, they're 49-0-1, with 1 tie coming in 1924 and the last loss against an in-state team coming in a 7-6 absolute barn burner back in the leather helmet days. Ohio State, they've really had success against the in-state teams in recent memory with the 42-0 victory against Cincinnati, 76-5 against Miami of Ohio, and also 59-7 against Akron a year ago. And this season, I don't know, Ohio State, they seem to be clicking on all cylinders. They're top 50 in expected points added across the board, every single category, and they're 6th in the FBS overall in its entirety. And that's thanks in large part to their defense really stepping up. They're only allowing 11 points per game, which oddly enough is 7th in the Big Ten. Big Ten opponents have really been able to curtail their opposition. And Ohio State, they're doing the same. You can't really bat an eyeball at 11 points per game. They're really doing a good job in that department. As for Toledo, though, they're really starting to figure it out. Especially in the ground game. They're 4th in the country in expected points added on the ground. So maybe they're taking a page out of Notre Dame's playbook, trying to limit Ohio State's offensive possessions, especially with their offense getting back on track last week against the Red Wolves. So Toledo, expect them to really try and establish the run. As you mentioned, that'll be a big factor. But the one down I'm looking for is 3rd down. Toledo, they're only converting at a 34% clip, so they're not really being able to get over the hump and extend drives. Ohio State, on the other hand, as I mentioned, with that defense, they're doing a great job getting off the field, only allowing oppositions to convert at a 24% clip. So really good in that department. And switching gears to Toledo's defense, like you mentioned with Dallas Gant, I'm talking about their secondary. They're only allowing 58 pass yards, which is 2nd in the FBS. It's just absolutely video game numbers. I don't care if the opponent's LIU and UMass. 58 yards to Division I quarterbacks, that's a pretty impressive clip. So CJ Stroud, who knows if it's a task of opponents, but Toledo will really have their hands full against one of the most prolific passers in the country and the Heisman frontrunner on most sports books. So should be an interesting storyline to watch this weekend, how Ohio State's able to move the ball versus Toledo, who's really going to be trying to limit the possessions. And we'll be there with all the coverage for you. We'll have the highlights and the post-game analysis afterwards. Our writers, Jacob Binge and Stephen Kishpaul, will have you with the game recap and a pair of sidebars as well. In the meantime, be sure to follow us on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. We're big on TikTok now. So until next time, this has been the Lantern Sports Preview Show. I'm your host, Casey Smith, alongside Gabe Burggraf. Take care.